categories, that is the cyanotic type of the diseases and the acyanotic type of the diseases. Now, among the cyanotic type of the diseases, we classify the tetralogy of Fallot and the transposition of the great arteries into it. Whereas when we come to the acyanotic type of diseases, they are again divided into the two categories. Either they are the shunt, the deficiency diseases, that is because of the left to the right shunt, and there is an outflow obstruction, or the obstruction leads to the congenital heart disease. Now, when there is a shunt abnormality, that is, there is a left to right shunt, then these are under the headings of the VSD, that is the ventricular septal defects, the atrial septal defects, the patent ductus arteriosus. When we talk about the outflow obstruction, there are the stenosis, that is the pulmonary stenosis, the aortic stenosis, and the coarctation of the aorta, which comes under the category of the outflow obstruction. So now we first come to the cyanotic, the acyanotic type of the congenital heart diseases, and that is the left to right shunt lesions, which we will be studying first. And among them, we have discussed aortic or the atrial septal defect, the ventricular septal defect, and the atrioventricular septal defect as well, which is the AV canal defect, and there is a patent ductus arteriosus. Now, coming to the first one, that is the ASD, that is the atrial septal defect. Now, if you see over here, you can see that these are the two atrias which are present, and in between, you can see during the embryological development, there is a septum primum and the septum secundum. And over here, there is a ovale, the fossa ovale or the foramen ovale, which is present. This is a normal anatomy which is present here. Now, when we talk about the atrial septal defect, that means during the growth of the septum or the formation of the septum, there is a defect which occurs in this line, which leads to the free communication of the flow of the blood in between the two atrias, and this is accounting about the 10% of all the congenital heart diseases. So the atrial septal defect is simply an opening which is present in the atrial septum, permitting the free communication of the flow of blood in between the two atrias. Now, this occurs because of the different reasons. It can be because of the excessive resorption of the septum primum, which was present here, or there can be a patent foramen ovale, which is there, or you can say there is an absence of the septum primum and the septum secundum, which was present, which was leading to the common atrium, leading to the ASD. Or there is simply an absence of the septum secundum, which can lead to the transfer or the communication between the two atrias, and this may be the cause of the atrial septal defect. Now, when we talk about atrial septal defect, you can see in this picture, this is the type of the normal picture in which you can see the septum primum, which is in the red, and this is the septum secundum, which is normally present with the fossa ovalis in between. Now, if it's a secundum type of the atrial septal defect, that means there is something wrong with the growth of the septum secundum. Either there is the poor growth of the septum secundum, or there is an excessive absorption of the septum primum, which leads to the secundum type of the atrial septal defect. Then there is a primum type of the atrial septal defect, which is formed by the failure of the septum primum to fuse with the endocardial cushion. And you can see that over here, this fossa ovalis is normal, but this septum primum is unable to fuse with the endocardial cushion. Whereas there is another type in which we call it as the sinus venosus type of the atrial septal defect, which is caused by the malposition of the inferior vena cava, and this is lying outside the area of the fossa ovalis. And this leads to the sinus venosus type of the atrial septal defect. Now, the incidence of this atrial septal defect, we have seen that is about 10% or 5 to 10% of all the congenital anomalies are of the atrial septal defect, and they're classified according to the location of the defect. Either it could be the secundum type of the atrial septal or the primum type of the atrial septal, or you can see there is a sinus venosus type of the atrial septal defect. So you can see these three septal defects, that is the sinus venosus type, the secundum type, and the primum type of the septal defects. Then we come to the next one, that is the ventricular septal defect, which is again an abnormal opening, but now this time it is since in the ventricle, so we call it as the ventricular septal defect. So this abnormal opening will be in the ventricular septum, and this will allow the free communication between the right and the left ventricle, and this is like in fact more than the ASDs and account for about 25% of the congenital heart diseases. Now, when we are talking about the ventricular septal defect, this is actually the ventricular septum. If you see over here in this picture, this is the ventricular septum. So now this defect can lie anywhere along the margins of the ventricular septum. It can be because of the absence of the membranous part of the interventricular septum, and it can be usually accompanied by the other cardiac defect also. And this is the case in the Rogers disease when there is the absence of the ventricular part of the interventricular septum. You can see this is the membranous part over here is missing, leading to an abnormal opening, permitting a free communication between the two ventricles, leading to the ventricular septal defect. Now, when we talk about this ventricular septal defect, they are actually classified, or you can say that they can be of 4 types. There are 4 basic types of the ventricular septal defect. If you see over here, this is the ventricular septum. Sometimes the defect lies over here, and this is just below the pulmonary valve, and we call this as the conal septal defect, or the conal septal VSD, that is the ventricular septal defect. And this conal ventricular septal defect is the rarest of all the VSDs which is present. Then you can see sometimes this defect is over here, and we have already discussed in the Rogers disease, that is the membranous type of the ventricular septal defect, and we also call it as the perimembranous ventricular septal defect, and this is also located near the valve. And this membranous type is the most common type of the ventricular septal defect which is occurring. Now, this is treated by surgery because the most do not close on their own. Then if you see over here, there is another type which we call it as the atrioventricular canal type, or the inlet type of the ventricular septal defect, and this is associated with the atrioventricular canal defect. And if you see that this VSD is located under the tricuspid and the mitral valves. And the last type, you can see this is lying over here, and this is classified as the muscular type of the ventricular septal defect. And this is the most common type, or the commonest type of the ventricular septal defect, which is a defect in the opening in the muscular portion of the lower section of the ventricular septum. And if you talk about this muscular type of the ventricular septal defect, mostly they close spontaneously and they do not require surgery. Then we talk about the atrioventricular septal defect. Now, the name suggests us that this will going to be a defect which is present in the atrium as well as the ventricle. Now, this results from the incomplete fusion of the endocardial cushions, now which help to form the lower portion of the atrial septum. You can see over here that you can see that the endocardial cushions does not fuse, so the lower portion of the atrial septum is not formed. And because of it, over here, the ventricular septum, that is the membranous part of the ventricular septum, and the septal leaflets of the tricuspids and the mitral valves are also not formed. But this is, not so commonly occurring. This is the incidence is only about 4% of all the congenital heart diseases. So this is a defect which is occurring in both the atrium and the ventricle. So we are calling it as the atrioventricular septal defect. Now, when we talk about the atrioventricular canal defect, which is a combination, and definitely since there is a failure or the fusion of the endocardial cushion, and there is a fusion, or you can say the membranous part of the ventricular septum is also not formed, so this will lead to a large hole in the center of the heart and gives a single common valve instead of the separate tricuspid and the mitral valves. And that is why it is also called the atrioventricular septal defect, and classified either that whether it can be a partial or a complete. A partial only involving the upper chambers, whereas if it's a complete, that means all the 4 chambers of the heart are freely communicating with each other. Now, both the types of the defect, they allow extra blood to circulate to the lungs, which causes the heart to enlarge. Then we talk about the ductus arteriosus. Now, we all know that ductus arteriosus is a vascular structure which simply connects the pulmonary artery to just near the origin to the branch or to the proximal descending aorta. It is a normal structure in the fetal elements, but it becomes abnormal. It remains patent after the neonatal period. Now, if the persistent ductus arteriosus occur, which is normally due to the failure of the development of the aorticopulmonary septum. You can see that this is the aorta and this is the pulmonary valve, and there is no boundary or a demarcation or a septum which is formed. So this will lead to the persistent truncus arteriosus. Now, this is accompanied, this persistent truncus arteriosus, when there is no development of the aorticopulmonary septum, it will also be accompanied by the ventricular septal defect. You can see that the membranous part of the VSD or the ventricular septum is also missing. Now, definitely in the truncus arteriosus, since there was no septum in between the aorta and the pulmonary vessel, that means it will give rise to a single large vessels arising from both the ventricle, and This is a developmental failure in which the aorta and the pulmonary artery are failed to separate with each other, leading to cyanosis, and definitely there is a danger of irreversible pulmonary hypertension. And in clinically, we detect the murmur which are detected in the diseases of persistent truncus arteriosus. Then we come to the obstructive type of the heart lesions. Now, among the obstructive type of heart lesions, we have studied that there are the stenosis which are present, that is the aortic stenosis or the pulmonary stenosis, or there is a coarctation of aorta, which also leads to the obstructive type of heart lesions. Coming to the one that is the pulmonary stenosis. Now, when we are talking about the pulmonary stenosis, this is the obstruction in the region of either the pulmonary valve or the subpulmonary ventricular outflow tract. So now if you see over here, this is actually the lesion either over here, that is the pulmonary valve, or even the subventricular outflow tract, which also leads to the pulmonary stenosis. And this, the incidence of the pulmonary stenosis is about 7 to 10% of the congenital heart cases. Now, mostly they are the isolated lesions, but maybe bicuspid or fusion of two or more leaflets may occur, and they can present either with an intact ventricular septum, or it can be there can be a defect. It can be a with or without the ventricular septum. So there is no compensation that either the ventricular septum is going to be present in the pulmonary stenosis or not going to be present. Now, if we talk about the pulmonary stenosis, we all know that there is a narrowing of a vessel occur, which leads to the obstruction in the passage of the flow. So now when we talk about the pulmonary stenosis, that means that this passage gets narrowed, and you can over here see that this is blackened, or this is all blocked, leading to a very narrow passage for the flow of the blood, and this is the narrowing of the pulmonary valve. Normally, if you see that there's a deoxygenated blood which is present in the right ventricle, this flows from the right ventricle in through the pulmonary valve to the lungs to get oxygenated. And in this event, if you know that the right ventricle carries a deoxygenated blood, and if the valve is stenosed, that means the blood cannot be pushed into the lungs, and the ventricle has to work very hard to pump the blood through the stenotic valve. Now, if you see over here, this is a condition. You can see this is the stenosis. You can see the blockage of the lumen over here. You can see this is the normal picture in which all the open lumen is present, and this is all the stenosed lumen or the blockage lumen of the pulmonary valve is present. Then there is also a condition which leads to the aortic stenosis. That means now this narrowing is in the lumen of the aorta, and definitely there is an obstruction of the outflow because aorta carries the pure blood which is coming from the left ventricle. So there will be the obstruction of the outflow from the left ventricle or the near aortic valve that causes a raise in the systolic pressure. Now, this accounts for more than the 7% of the congenital heart diseases. Now, when we talk about the aortic stenosis, we classify them in the three categories. Either it's a valvular type of the aortic stenosis, it can be subaortic, or we call it as a subvalvular, or we call it as a supravalvular if it involves the ascending aorta. So now the most common when we talk about is the valvular type of the aortic stenosis. Now over here you can see this is the edge of the valve, which are usually fused to form a dome with a narrow opening, and this can be congenital or developed after birth. Then there is another condition which we call it as the coarctation of the aorta, which is again the narrowing of the aorta at varying points. Now this coarctation can be at varying point anywhere from the transverse arch to the iliac bifurcation. Now, in the male to female ratio, it's 3:1, and this accounts for 7% of all congenital heart disease. Now, if you look at this coarctation, it's occurring over here, you can see that how this blockage is occurring, and you can see just because of it, again, the blood which was coming from the left ventricle would not be able to go to the different parts of the body, and that leads to the thick muscle wall in the left ventricle. You can see that this is the thick muscular wall which is present in the left ventricle due to the increased workload against the resistance. So this is again not because of the pressure which is increased, and the ventricle has to work more to do the work, and so it develops more muscle to work hard. Now, if you see in this radiographic image, you can see that this is a picture of the coarctation of the aorta, where you can see there is an arch which is blocked and leading to the image which is showing a blockage which is showing the coarctation of aorta. Then we come to the cyanotic diseases of the heart, and among this that we call the first one, that is the tetralogy of Fallot. And definitely when we call a cyanotic disease, that means the baby will be blue because it's a cyanotic disease of heart. Now, this tetralogy of Fallot is comprising of 4 anomalies which are going to occur. The first one you can see over here is the VSD, that is the ventricular septal defect, which is there. There is a pulmonary stenosis, that is the narrowing of the pulmonary vessel. There is an overwriting of the aorta, and there is hypertrophy of the right ventricle. So this tetralogy of Fallot is going to is a combination of the ventricular septal defect, pulmonary stenosis, overwriting of the aorta, and the right ventricular hypertrophy. Now, if you see over here, this is again an image where you can see this is the overriding of aorta. You can see how much enlarged this right ventricle is here. And this is an obstruction in the passage of the pulmonary trunk called the stenotic pulmonary trunk. Then there is a transposition of the great arteries. Now, when we are talking about the transposition of the great arteries, now this is because of the abnormal rotation or malformation of the aorticopulmonary septum. So what happens that the right ventricle joins the aorta instead of joining the pulmonary artery, whereas the left ventricle joins the pulmonary artery. So definitely now this has changed the positions of the vessels, and that is why we also call it as the transposition of the great arteries, and this is one of the most common cause of the congenital heart disease in the newborns. Now, this transposition is often associated with the ASD or the VSD. Now, there is another condition, we call it as the dextrocardia. Now, in the dextrocardia, what happens that the heart tube, it instead of when if you look at the normal person, the heart is on the left side. But what happens that in the dextrocardia, that the heart tube, instead of being present on the left, it shifts to the right, and because of it, there is the transposition of the great vessel as well, and this is simply the positional anomaly of the heart. So this is all about today's lecture, and these are the different anomalies which